Today we're going to look at the 8BitDo 02, who it's for, and how well it works after some extensive real-world testing. The first thing that strikes you is how tiny it is. My first reaction was that I'd made a huge mistake buying this. However, it's $19 and the 8BitDo Pro 2 is $49. That's the bigger controller that a lot of YouTubers recommend. And so for $20, you know, you're getting something very interesting for your money, and we'll get to that. Also, it comes with a rubber lanyard, which I recommend using because the chance of dropping this is very high. So let's move on to the rest of the review. So my first quality impressions of this device is that it is a very premium product. It's got a matte finish on the back, a gloss finish on the front. It doesn't rattle too much. The face buttons and the D-pad also have a nice matte finish, so you know, while you're playing it, it just gives it a little bit of a premium feel. And the start and select are clicky. I'll just do it by the mic. The R1 and L1 button are sort of a soft click to them. Here is the charging ports. Apparently, I'll put the battery life on the screen now, but apparently it's got quite a long battery life. I've only plugged it in for a short period of time, and I've been using it for a couple of days, testing extensively on all sorts of devices, and the battery life has lasted quite well. And so first impressions of this is that it is a very high quality device, and there's your LED indicator light. Let's quickly run through the exterior of this device. So as I mentioned, this is the LED lights. Fairly bright, but not too bright, so if you're playing at night, it's not going to light up the whole room. Your D-pad has got a decent amount of travel. Feels very nice. It's a nice combination of mushy and clicky. It doesn't have, you know, play where it starts pushing these buttons down when you push here. So it's a perfectly designed D-pad. I really like it. And then, as I mentioned, these start and select buttons are clicky and very flush with the body of the device. These face buttons also have got great travel. Also a nice combination between clicky and mushy. I really like the feel of them. They're slightly more clicky than the Anbernic device that I own. Charging port there, and then your L2 and R2, L1 and R1, they are slightly raised out of the body and work perfectly. I haven't had an issue with these. The feeling in your hand, I have these long fingers, and so my playing position is just sort of holding at the tips of my fingers, using my thumbs to play, and my forefingers to use the L1 and R1 buttons. Obviously, this is not designed to play for hours on end, but the amount of playtime I've gotten out of it, I haven't had any sort of strain using it. I stayed up last night using it on my iPad and didn't have any finger strain. It's not a terrible position to hold. The next step is to compare it to the old faithful Miyoo Mini in terms of size. So the Miyoo Mini obviously gets a lot of flack for being small, but I mean, it is purposefully designed to be a small device. So I don't know why people complain about that. The Miyoo Mini obviously has the thickness going for it, you know, whereas this is quite thin. So that is a downside on the Miyoo Mini, but let's just compare size for a second. The D-pad is slightly thinner, you know, it's just slightly shrunken in size compared to this, but the distance from there to there isn't that much different. And then the face buttons also, they're just a little smaller, but the positioning is very much similar. So they're just slightly shrunken down version of this. And in terms of playing, you know, the Miyoo Mini, I've got the bottom and the top to hold. So the Miyoo Mini obviously is going to be, actually, you know what? Because the Miyoo Mini, if you hold the Miyoo Mini like this, it's quite nice, but then you can't use the trigger buttons. But here, I don't like this position because my pinkies get strained. Whereas with this, I hold it like this and I play. And it actually, now that I'm just doing it in front of the camera, I realize this is nicer to hold because it's lighter, and I don't have to deal with holding the body of the device and balancing the weight of the device in my hands. And so overall, I actually prefer the holding position on this compared to something like a Miyoo Mini. Okay, so a bit of the functionality. How it works is if you press the start button and hold it, it'll switch it off. There we go, it's off. And it's currently paired to my iPad, so you'll see now, if you just press once, switches on, flashes, found the iPad, and there we go, it's paired. Then if I want to go into pairing mode, you press this and hold it, the select button. And there, now it's in pairing mode. Now I have to, unfortunately, on my iPad, remove it and then add it again. And there we go, it's paired back to my iPad. So functionality is pretty easy. Apparently in the manual it said B and start switches it off, but I just find if I press start and hold, it switches it off. So I've mentioned now how to pair it, and in terms of connectivity, I have paired this with my Windows PC laptop, I've paired it with my Android TV box, I've paired it with my iPad, I think I did try it on my phone. I don't have any handheld devices that have Bluetooth yet, so I haven't been able to test it on that. That's actually one of the reasons I got this as a YouTube reviewer. I wanted something that I could connect to devices and test the Bluetooth connectivity. But I've tried it on everything, and it connects perfectly with 0 to little latency. The latency, I feel, is more to do with the device I've connected it to. For instance, my laptop doesn't have a very good Bluetooth chip in it, and so it doesn't work very well with my laptop. My laptop, I definitely need to get a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection going with maybe a 8BitDo Pro 2 or something. But so far with the iPad, with my Android box, that's probably the best performance I've gotten out of it. And so a little sort of top tip right now is I think this will work very well if you have an Android tablet to play some retro games. Cool, so I wanted to show a little bit of the gaming on here. So I went ahead and I downloaded, there's a person somewhere in the world who is porting Sega games for the iPad, and then you can either opt for the advertising version or the paid version. And so let's quickly go into Sonic 2. And already, if I press A or B, there we go. B to start, let's turn on the sound. Okay, so let's go, Emerald Hill, there we go, my saved game. All right, let's go. Whoops. Okay, so what I'm noticing here with the gameplay is sometimes if you do dual inputs, it struggles. So when I do this, let me show you. So if I go down and there, and see, it won't move forward. So I've got to go down and then let go and press forward. So just a few little quirks, but that's also Bluetooth, you know. But I mean, I'm busy playing Sonic on my iPad. That's pretty cool. So like I said, there's quite a few games, if you do decide to do this with the iPad, that have been ported. I've got Crazy Taxi, Mario Kart doesn't work, Streets of Rage, all these Sega games work with the controller. Asphalt 9 works, I've tested Asphalt 9 and that works on the iPad, so that's really cool. And then I'm going to make a video about this, but I got RetroArch working on my Xiaomi Mi Box, the TV, little TV box that they make. I got RetroArch working on there, and I've got NES games working, a few of the SNES games work. I think I got a PS1 game working. So that's a cool little thing that you can do with this, and it works really well. I tried Asphalt 9 on the Android box, but it didn't work very well. So here's the conclusion of this video. Who should buy it? What is this for? The thing is, this is something for every person who enjoys games, specifically retro games, but then also if you're a seasoned gamer, this is something that you can take everywhere with you, and you can connect it to everything. Whether you've taken your iPad, whether you've taken a Nintendo Switch with you, whatever it may be, it's going to connect to those things. And that is the beauty of something small, lightweight, and compact to take with you wherever you go. And then the other thing is, if you are a retro gamer, this might be the only controller you ever need. I do think Bluetooth has its limitations, so every now and again you might get interference, or the device you're using isn't working so well with Bluetooth. So that has its issues, and I do think a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection is better. And then my final tip is, if you do have an Android tablet, this is the perfect retro gaming companion for that, because you can play thousands of games using RetroArch on Android, and if you've got a decent tablet, you can play a huge catalog of games.